Run away for a few minutes. So thankfully we have Joy here who has agreed to help us today with our art talk. And this is actually our last art talk of the semester. So I see a few of you have been to more than one. So I'm glad that you all got to experience this. And we're so excited that we were able to host this series this semester. And we are finishing off with a wonderful individual who I actually went to grad school with. So it's great to see Ashley's face again. We were both in the Arts Administration Master's program here at UK. So that was a wonderful experience. And now she is doing incredible things. And I'm excited for y'all to learn more about her. So Joy, would you like to go ahead and start us off?
All right, sounds good. So for those of you who don't know, Ashley is an illustrator, but if you want to go ahead and tell us more about yourself and like what you do.
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's really nice to meet you, I suppose is the new term for this year, kind of our 2020 theme. Like they were saying, I am a picture book illustrator. I work mainly on picture books for ages 0 to 8, so very young based work. I have been doing this since I graduated from college. And like Emily said, we were in the same grad program together. I went to Alderson Broaddus College for my undergrad and got a bachelor's in fine arts. And then I did do 1 year at West Virginia University, focusing on painting, but ended up transferring out of that program and enrolled with Simmons College. They are based out of Boston. And I worked as part of their satellite program at the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art in Amherst, Massachusetts, which was like the coolest thing ever. So I was surrounded by picture books all day long, and that kind of really helped me focus my career on illustration. And then after that program, I then enrolled in, I wanted to get the business side of the art world down. So that's why I enrolled in the program there at UK where Emily and I met. And so since graduation, I have I've illustrated several picture books, and about a year ago, I ended up getting my quote unquote big break and got a literary agent, and I'm now working on 3 books with Macmillan House out of New York and 2 books with Penguin Random House out of New York. So I'm super thrilled and still am in shock that I'm saying those words, but it's been a lot of fun, a lot of really hard work, but I'm very excited about where I am and the next steps. So, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys too.
So our first question for you is, what was your dream job as a child? Did you like already want to go into illustration as a kid?
Yeah, when my mom always jokes that she gave me a crayon trying to entertain me while she was doing something when I was like 1.5 or 2 years old. And so she jokes that I never put my crayon down. So I have been coloring ever since I can remember. You know, when you're in like 1st and 2nd grade and they give you those ridiculous things like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she kept all that stuff, and I wrote down a cartoonist every time. So I feel like that's pretty much, you know, it's close to where I am right now. So I'm from West Virginia originally, and there's not a ton of art opportunities in that area, but I was really blessed to have some really encouraging teachers and parents. So they, you know, kind of always encouraged me to go the art route. So I was lucky in that way.
And I know you already talked a little bit about your educational experience, but is there anything like particularly memorable during your time in either like high school or university that relates to your career?
Oh, absolutely. Like I was saying, my time at the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art was just phenomenal. If any of you, regardless of if you're interested in picture book illustration or not, if you get the chance to go there, you really, really should go. It's just like the vibe and the atmosphere is just so unique. It's like being surrounded by like the greats or something, and there's galleries and there's a library, so there's like books and everything. And so again, if you have any interest at all in going into this industry, or like the design industry, just being in a space like that where you are surrounded by people of a like mind is very great for fueling your creativity. So I would definitely say that.
And when you first like graduated out of university, did you expect to like be where you are now, or did you have slightly different plans?
I didn't really have a plan. I'm kind of like a go with the flow type person, which is not always the greatest way to be. Like, you have to make money. I always knew that it would work out because I knew that this is what I was meant to do. I'm absolutely terrible at literally everything else I have ever tried to do. So I can't do math, so that rules out a lot of things. I can write pretty decently, but I just knew that I was meant to be in an artistic role. I certainly didn't get here overnight. I worked a lot in the independent publishing world where authors would contract with me themselves. So I kind of have been able to use those projects to kind of build my business and build my brand and work on my style. But I mean, I've had like a slew of odd jobs. Like, I was a secretary at a Mercedes dealership for a while. I was a bartender for 2 weeks. That didn't work out. I was a waitress for a while. And I did teach art and still do teach art through an art center kids program outside of COVID time when they actually have classes. And that's pretty fun too. So, when you're an artist, you have to be willing to have the side hustle for a while.
So what does a typical day look like for you? Because I know a lot of like professional art careers, they tend to be a little more loose or like flexible and not quite what you'd expect most of the time.
Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. I have a home studio, so even before COVID happened, I always work from home. I have, in the mornings, I'll usually do a lot of email stuff because, when you work for yourself and you're your own boss, I find it to be more of a positive thing than a negative thing. But like with any job, you're going to have hard days. But, when you are your own boss, you have to take care of everything. So, it's up to you to contact clients. It's up to you to set your deadlines. It's, everything's on you. But that comes with a lot of flexibility, like you were saying. So yeah, in the mornings, I'll typically do some email stuff. And then as I, work my way to the afternoon, that's kind of when my creative time starts. And it's not uncommon for me to be working and miss dinner because I get so focused on what I'm working on. And, if I kind of get on a roll, get in the groove, then, I'm usually up pretty late working just because it's not always up to you when those ideas come to you. So it's nice that my schedule is flexible. And then some days, you guys know, it's just impossible to focus and work. So on those days, you don't get as much done. And, especially this year, I mean, goodness gracious, being a student right now, like, you guys are just amazing. And I certainly applaud all of you because you've had to be very easygoing during all of this. So good job.
So do you have any pieces of advice you could give to young students or artists like us, whether that's like related to visual arts or just being an artist in general?
Yes, I think that you've got to be persistent. You have to be dogged in this industry. Not that there's really any easy industry, but this industry is subjective. This industry is difficult. But this industry is also wonderful, especially with like the picture book sector that I have kind of found my niche in. Like, yes, it's competitive. Obviously, it's competitive, but it's not competitive in a way that other industries are, where if everybody's working towards the same position, you have like animosity towards others. It comes from a place of community. Whereas if you're in a critique group and one person gets a book deal, you're not like, I wish that was me. Like, you're so happy for them because, you know, a success for them is also a success for you, because everybody's work is so different. So it's not like yes, everybody's vying for a book deal, but everybody's story is different. Everybody's style is different. So it's unique in that way. But it has to come from a place of passion, because if you're not passionate about this, it's not going to work, because there's so, like, the hours are so long. But I would rather draw than do anything else. Like, I don't particularly like, I do go on vacation, but I'm so excited to come home because I would rather be drawing than anything else. And I feel like that's why you know, a lot of illustrators are successful, is because we love it so much. So it's not daunting. It's like, oh, I have to go finish that spread before tomorrow. It's like, oh, I can't wait to get back home so I can finish my work. It's like, okay, like, the beach is great, but I really like to draw. So I think if you're persistent and it comes from a place of passion, it will absolutely happen for you, because it's the people who give up who lose it.
Absolutely. That's definitely applicable even now, like in student life. I can definitely relate to that. So is there a particular moment in your career that you would consider to be especially influential?
Yes. So after I graduated from UK, I actually enrolled in a 2D traditional animation course that was instructed by Don Bluth. And he, if you don't know who he is, he did all of the, like, American Tail movies, and he worked on The Land Before Time, which was like the thing when I was a kid. Love Land Before Time. That little foot man, he gets me every time. So he was extremely influential in my career, because during the culmination of the class, we all met out in Arizona, where he's based, and we did a week-long intensive with him. So he was like drawing over top of my drawings, like fixing my mistakes. And he's like, one of the best pieces of advice is, he said, Ashley, like, you have talent, you just need to use it. And I just thought that was, like, it's super simple, but, you know, you all have talent, and it's just a matter of forcing yourself to continue to get better and better and use it. Because, again, like I was just saying, part of the talent that you have is based in persistence. So he just, you know, as a whole, was extremely influential over my career, and the things that he had to deal with, you know, throughout his career was very inspiring, because, like I was saying, no job is easy, but, like, and everybody has bad days, but it's just the way that he was able to overcome those things was hugely inspiring to me. So that whole experience overall was wonderful.
So I know picture books, I feel like a lot of the times people don't necessarily think about how much of an impact they can make on children, but they really do. So what role do you, like, see yourself playing as an artist and as an illustrator of picture books?
Yes, you are absolutely right. Picture books have a huge impact. If, you know, the majority, everybody is different, but overall, the majority of people, if you ask them what their favorite book as a kid was, everybody can answer that question. You know, with little golden books, you know, you might not remember the exact title, but you'll, like, remember what the cover looked like, which is great for me, because, you know, secretly pictures are way cooler. So, and, you know, I just remember I was never an avid reader, but I was an avid picture looker. I would look at pictures all the time. I would beg my mom for books based on the picture on the cover, and I would never let her read them to me. I would just run and hide and just look at the pictures and, like, touch the paper and everything like that. So, you know, they're wonderful because they form memories for kids, and they teach you valuable lessons, because all picture books, even if they're silly, there's a lesson in there somewhere. You know, a lot of those books are based on friendship stories. A lot of books, you know, picture books are like learn how to brush your teeth, but it doesn't say this is how you brush your teeth. Like there's a whole story behind it. So they're full of teachable moments, and you know, they really serve as the first creative interaction that a lot of kids have, because when you're that young, you can't read, so you look at the pictures and you kind of create your own story. So it's really like an introduction into visual learning.
So what encourages or inspires you to do all of that?
I love working with little kids. I mean, there is nothing like, I don't have any children yet, but there is nothing like seeing inspiration strike a child. You know, with the world the way it is today, kids have to grow up really fast. And I feel like some kids don't have a great home life. Some kids don't have a great life at school. And if I can provide a picture book that will allow them an escape from that world, I feel like I've done my job. And it's important to let kids know that you really can do anything in this life, regardless of, you know, where you're from, who you are, what you look like, anything. I just think it's really important to introduce them to those ideas early on. And I was doing a school visit one time, and this little boy, like, I had read my book and I had explained that I drew every single picture in this book, and he was like super impressed, and he stood up and he raised his hand, and I was like, yeah, what do you want to say? And he's like, Miss Ashley, you stayed in the lines so good. And that was like the greatest compliment I had ever gotten from anybody. So, you know, like just little moments like that are extremely inspiring to me, because, you know, you don't have to do big change. You just have to do little changes.
You touched a little bit about some exciting projects that you're working right now, but do you have any plans for the future or any like career aspirations next?
Oh yeah, I have so many story ideas. I want to do it all the time. I did just get signed to my first author illustrator picture book, which was really exciting. And the announcement came out 20 minutes before I was going to jump on this meeting. I've known about it since August, but it just came out in Publishers Weekly today. So my hope is that I can continue to grow as an author illustrator. I've, you know, been illustrating other people's stories for such a long time that I'm really excited to kind of delve into this new world of doing both. It is extremely intimidating and I am extremely scared every day, but I know that it's going to be okay. Like, this is what I am meant to do. And Macmillan would not have bought this book if they thought I was going to suck. So
All right, well, those are all of the questions that I have for you. So right now we're going to open the floor up to anyone else who wants to ask anything. If you have any questions, you can either type them in the chat or unmute yourself. So yeah, go ahead.
great.
So you had mentioned that you like can write a little, but so I take it you don't write the books that you illustrate for, you're just drawing the pictures. And if that's the case, have you ever written a book where you've written the story and illustrated the pictures?
Yeah. So, like I said, I took creative writing in undergrad. So that was a while ago. But I have more recently been working on writing my own stories. So the Publishers Weekly announcement that I was just talking about, I actually wrote that story and am going to illustrate it. So I'm hoping that I will get more projects like that moving forward. It's really hard to write a picture book, let me tell you. Like, I know that it seems like it should be easy. Like the standard picture book is 32 pages, 500 words or less. Like, that is like, oh, sure. And I meet people all the time when they ask me what I do. And I'm like, oh, I illustrate picture books. They're like, oh, I wrote a picture book once. I'm like, I'll bet. Let me read it. So, like, you know, it sounds like it shouldn't be hard, but there are rules and there's like so many like negative connotations that you have to avoid, that, you know, like, you have to watch yourself in every single word. You You have to watch yourself in pictures because you don't want to give the wrong idea. You don't want your point to come across in a way that it was not meant to be. There's so much that you've, got to watch. So it is not easy. I have grown to, have a great appreciation for, really well-known authors. I don't know if you guys have done a ton of research on picture book authors or illustrators, but Dan Santat is one. Molly Idle is my idol, and I met her twice, and she's awesome. They have mastered this craft. So if you want to learn how to do this, the best advice that I can offer you is to read those books. Not just by them, just search Scholastic or Macmillan or Penguin Random House, whatever, and see the list of their books and just, dive in. It's fascinating. And the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, it's scbwi.org. That is kind of the gateway into this industry. It is, like I was saying before, it is extremely competitive, but once you're in, unless you do something really bad, which you wouldn't do. But they have chapters throughout the whole world, and you can get, they do conferences, you can get one-on-one critiques with agents, editors, art directors. That is how I got my break into this business. So if you're, that's a great place to start if you're looking, just as a side note.
Hi, I'm Holly.
Hi.
So at first, or when you first started getting into the illustrating position, did you find it hard to market yourself, or specific ways you did market yourself?
That's a really great question. That is one of the big things that you have to take into consideration when you are beginning this journey. And, you all are lucky because social media has kind of always been a thing. I mean, I'm not like that much older than you all, but, I didn't have Facebook in high school. I got Facebook my sophomore year of college, and I, wasn't a huge fan, and I'm still not a huge fan, but it's a necessary evil in our culture today. But social media is by far the best way to get yourself out there. And, that's kind of true for everything, especially now, with COVID, it's all online. But Twitter is my favorite thing on the face of the earth, because I went to an SCBWI conference, and I did a little workshop with an art director. Her name is Mallory Gregg. She is the art director that I'm currently working with at Macmillan. And at the time, I was obviously not working with her, hence why I was taking the workshop. And she explained to us, she gave her whole talk, and she's like, just so you know, I hire a lot of illustrators off of Twitter. So she said, for example, right now, I'm looking for someone who can draw anthropomorphic slime, which, if any of you aren't in the arts, anthropomorphic is when you give an animal or an object human-like characteristics. And I was like, oh, that would be cool. She's like, I think we might have found somebody, but you never know. So I went home, and I was like, okay, I should probably draw something and post it on there just so that she knows I was paying attention. And, it's like that whole brown noser thing that you kind of, learn to do throughout school. It's all about who you know? Okay. So I drew up this little sample, and I posted it to her Twitter feed, and there were 100 plus samples already. And I'm like, well, she'll put my name with my face and remember me maybe. Okay. So I posted it on a Sunday or on a Monday, and she liked it. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And, that pretty much had satisfied me. And I was like, okay. And that following Saturday, I was at actually a book festival with one of the independent publishing houses I've done a lot of work with. And I got an email that said Frankenslime picture book inquiry, and it was from Mallory Gregg. And I was like, did I sign up for her newsletter and not remember? Why am I getting an email from her? And it was her offering me this book deal from that Twitter sample. So again, Twitter is now my favorite thing in the whole world. So you've got to be present On their Instagram is a really great one. Facebook is, you know, if you've had a Facebook for a while, use it mostly to like promote yourself to your family and friends, because they are going to buy whatever you are creating because they want to support you. But for a professional aspect, Instagram and Twitter is where it's at for illustrators. Because, you know, you can miss a lot of the Facebook chatter and all that crap by going to Instagram. And, you know, Twitter is, you know, you have to kind of, you know, weed through some things there, but for the most part, Twitter and Instagram are great ways to market yourself. You also need a website. That's a huge thing. You've got to have somewhere to point people. So I would definitely recommend doing all that. And you don't have to spend any money on social media either. That's another reason that I like it. It's free. Your website you can do on the cheap. Like I think I pay like $17 a month or something for my website. So yeah, just making yourself available and just so that people can find you easily online. Yeah, really good question.
I was going to see, Ashley, would you be open with me sharing my screen? I have your website pulled up, actually.
Yes, that would be fun. And I do have some images from Frankenslime, some like super top secret things I can share after you're done if you want to see.
Ooh, okay. Let me see if I can get this figured out.
While you do that, I'll pull some more up here because I think I have like 2 open. And I'm sorry if you guys can hear my notifications, but my like I said, I just posted that stuff, so we'll see.
Here, let me see. So I'll go slow. I have your portfolio pulled up. These are so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is like, you know, my a lot of websites have like a home page, but in my opinion, it's kind of like a waste of space. So I just named my home page my portfolio page so that when you hit my website, that's the first thing you see. And this is Frankenslime. So the cover reveal was a few weeks ago. It's available for pre-order now, but will be coming out on July 13th, 2021, which is my new favorite day. And I've got like I said, I have my Instagram gallery there up on the left so that whatever I post on Instagram will feed directly to my website. And I try not to have a ton of overlap between my Instagram images and my portfolio images. You should think about your portfolio as being special, not that your other artwork isn't, but your portfolio should have images that you don't share around a ton on social media. It should have, you know, pieces that you would send out as art samples. And then, you know, your Instagram, you should definitely post similar things, but they don't have to be as fine-tuned. So, you know, you can see there I have some sketches, I have some news, I have some process drawings, I have, you know, just a variety of different things on there. I only post like for my for pretty much all of my social media, I really just use it specifically for professional purposes. And then every once in a while, like I do have a picture of me right there on the left. That's when at the portfolio showcase from the SCBWI New York conference that was this past February before the world ended. So like I'll post that kind of stuff every once in a while, but it's all like professionally based. And then I have a separate Instagram for like my personal pictures where I like reluctantly go to the beach instead of work for a week. So, you know, it's kind of like separation of church and state. It's really important to, you know, not confuse the two. So have a dedicated professional space and a dedicated personal space. And you can always point people to your professional site from your personal site, because I would imagine that you all have pretty decent personal networks established already. So it would be really easy for you to start a professional page and get a pretty decent following. You see a lot of things on here are like holiday based. Before I started getting these really great contracts, I had more time to focus on sample work, but the point of sample work is to get these big contracts. So you can see a lot of like intermittent post versus holiday post. Now I usually just post for holidays, but if I do post intermittently, it'll be like a piece that I have just been working on for a few months in anticipation of needing a break from all my holiday art. I really like Christmas and I really like Halloween. So I usually try to post some extras around those times of year. And then, you know, here you can see like some book signings and stuff. Editors and art directors like to see that you're being active. You know, they don't want to hire somebody to do a project that's just going to do the work, send it in and be done with it. They want somebody who's going to sell this book. And they need to see you being active and trying to do that stuff as well. So again, just, you know, just a variety of things. And again, just keep it professional and keep it clean. I do have an about me section up there in the menu as well, with like my bio and stuff so that people can learn, you know, just a little bit about me. Basically, it's what I told you at the beginning. People just like to know, you know, your education, like a personal fact, and it's usually like where you live or who you're married to, or like when not drawing, she can be found going on vacations very reluctantly, you know, something like that, just so that they feel like they know a little bit about you. So yeah, I just have where she happily creates artwork from her home studio, which is where I would literally stay all the time. But my husband tells me I need to be more social. So I do go out every once in a while. I went out like twice last week, so that was really good. But yeah, it's just really important to be like approachable, have a super clean website. You don't want to have like huge images where you have to scroll to see the whole thing. So like that, that was through Wix, which I would really recommend. They have great portfolio sites. And again, it's really user friendly. I'm somewhat tech savvy, but I don't like code or anything. So when I'm making, like when I'm working on my website, I want to be able to like drag and, you know, plug things in, and that one works really well. So just keep it simple, keep it clean. That's the best. So, but I do have, like I said, I have some Frankenslime stuff that I can show you guys if you want to see. I'm excited. Okay.
Let me add you as a, so that you can share your screen.
Okay.
There you go. That worked.
Okay, let's see. Yes. Okay. So the first one that we can do, so this is the cover. So you saw like that front cover there on my website. So this is like the front and back cover, like flattened out. So you can see it's called a case wrap. And it's it actually has a dust jacket. So on the left and right, there's actually, you can't see it on this one, but there's like 2 additional panels that actually like wrap around the front and back cover that holds it in. And there's just copy on those flaps, like mine and Joy's bio, and then like a blurb about the book is on there. So this is like the front and back cover. And I went through, oh gosh, like 14 revisions maybe of this nice piece here. And it's really interesting working with an art director and an editorial team and a sales team and a marketing team, because every single person has to check the yes box before it can proceed. So you have to please a lot of different people who have very strong opinions. And I cannot stress enough being easy to get along with, because like this chance is so slim that like they could have told me to like color a red line through the middle of her face and I would have been like, that's a great idea, I love it, let's do it. So, you know, you can, if your opinion is asked, you obviously give your opinion. Like they're not gonna just be like, okay, you have to draw this, 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 and this. But like, you know, you do what you want, and then you take the criticism constructively as it's meant, you make the changes, and then they'll ask for more, and you make the changes, and they'll ask for more and you make the changes, and eventually everybody will be happy, because eventually they just run out of time and they have to just say, okay, this is how it's going to be. So, you know, you have that to look forward to, but it's, like I said, I cannot stress enough being easy to get along with. So this one is, let's see, stop share. So this next one that I will show you is from the interior, and there's again like a level of revision that came with this piece, but this one actually changed the least. My sketch was very similar to this final outcome, and in this one, the color is what I spent the most of the time revising. They really like contrasting colors. So if you get out your color wheel, you know, like blue and orange are kind of opposite each other on the color wheel. So they are going to make each other stand out. So I kind of tried to keep that in mind throughout the whole story. And also just a note, when you're creating your portfolio, be diverse. Our world is diverse, and we need more diverse books. So in my sample, I made the little girl as an African-American, because I was like, I mean, I've been drawing diverse characters forever, but I just felt like you kind of get like gut feelings, and, you know, and I was like, this needs to be her. This is her. And, you know, you see more and more diverse characters coming through picture books, and I cannot advocate for that enough. Like our world is diverse, and our books should reflect that culture. So when you're putting together a portfolio, make sure that you include different ethnicities, different ages, different shapes, everything, and that'll really stand out to a lot of art directors. So and then I have one more here that's a spread from the interior. This one, so the storyline is basically this little girl, her name's Victoria Franken. She is a slime scientist, and she creates all of these fantastic slimes, and one of her experiments goes awry and the character comes to life. So this is part of her like experimentation phase. And so here she's making rainbow cloud slime. Here she is making intergalactic space slime. And over here, she's making glow in the dark zombie slime. And I could have easily put a spot illustration with some white space around it over here, one over here, and one over here. But the art director's note was it would be really neat if these three things could kind of blend into the same world. And I just thought that was so astute and such a unique perspective. So I tried to, you know, like we put the clouds up here because clouds are in the sky. Then we have the sky, and the sky kind of drips down, and we have, you know, the ground over here. So it's a way for you to kind of push your normal perspective and to think outside of the box a little bit. But that type of art, like I wouldn't have thought to do that on my own. So that's the power of a good art direction. And because of my willingness to listen to her, we came to this fantastical image. Whereas if you push back, well, if you push back, A, they're not going to like to work with you, and you're not going to get another contract. But B, you'll never grow. You know, it's just like school. Like you've got to go into it understanding that you don't know everything, but that if you're open to it, you will begin to learn a lot. So again, it's a team effort. So just keep that in mind. Do you guys have any more questions? I'm happy to answer questions about anything that I have talked about. I'm trying to think if there's any other tips I can give you. Anything y'all want to know?
You mentioned really liking working in your art studio. And like, you know, just all of us are here like thinking about what our futures are going to look like. So can you tell us about like working from home and working in your own studio versus what it might have been like to work off location on an art scene?
Yeah, that's great. So when I was in grad school, my year at West Virginia University, I actually had a section of a shared art studio space. And what you have to understand is everybody is different. Everybody is going to prefer working in a different environment. I personally did not like working so close to other people because I have always been like, I love watching TV and I always have the TV on like as background noise. Like the invention of Netflix was truly phenomenal. And I literally have Netflix or Hulu or whatever in the background all the time. I'm not a huge music person, but a lot of artists are. So they'll listen to music while they work. But I've never been that type of artist. So I really like working in my own space because it's mine. I don't have to worry about what it looks like because nobody's going to walk by and see it. I don't have to worry about having my TV on because there's nobody else to be disturbed. With COVID, my husband is also working from home. So, but he has an office down the hall. So it's, still fine. But I have always been like a homebody. And the fact that I can create in a space that is mine, that I'm comfortable with, I feel like fuels my creativity because my environment really allows my creative process to happen. And with not having like a 9 to 5 hours, I'm free to go get some food. I'm free to take some breaks. If I have to like run to the grocery store, then like I'm out of peanut butter, like okay, I can walk to the grocery store and not have to clock out or something, is really nice. And then I don't have to worry about disturbing somebody next to me. So again, it's a personal thing. There's a lot of people who can't work on their own. It's really hard. Like I've just always done it, so I don't know any better. Like my parents worked from home. They had their own business, so it's kind of ingrained in me. But I know that this pandemic has been really hard because a lot of people are more productive in an office. There's a lot of distractions at home. So you've got to kind of take that into consideration as well. But like I said, I've just done it for such a long time that I feel like I'm self-motivated enough but plus I love my job. That helps too. If I was in a position that I didn't necessarily like, I would probably find it difficult to be, self-motivated at home with TV and, with everything else going on. But it's a delicate balance that is really based off of personal preference.
What was your favorite storybook when you were younger?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I was hoping this question would come. Okay. So there is, so you guys have heard of the Little Golden Books series and, they're super old. So I really liked Spot the dog. I used to practice drawing that dog. I have reams of paper probably with that little dog on it. And there was also one called like the Jelly Bean Tree that was also a little golden book, and I love that story. I also really liked Amelia Bedelia. That was kind of an older, that was like a little bit of an old, like that wasn't necessarily like a picture book, but the illustrations were so funny. I really love humor. All of my artwork is humorous. So those, I feel like the comforting quality of the Little Golden Books art coupled with the humor of Amelia Bedelia, I feel like really set the groundwork for my future style. And I also really liked to look at the covers of Junie B. Jones. There were some, like interior illustrations, but for the most part, I would just buy those books because I liked the cover illustration, and I would try to buy try to recreate those as well. And I really liked the Richard Scarry's. I like to watch them, but I would also buy all of those books and try to draw like Huckle and Lowly and all that. And it's just interesting, the ones that stick out in your mind. So all of those, I would say collectively, are like my favorites if I had to line them up. And I hope that one day somebody asks that question and somebody says the book that I made. That is like my dream. And when I also like love to make myself accessible because there are so many illustrators that I admire that like they're so big that it's impossible for them to answer everybody's questions and, you know, get in touch with everybody. But so Molly Idol, she won the Caldecott for Flora and the Flamingo, if you look her up. And she is like so approachable and so personable. And I met her twice and within like 2 years. And the second time I told her that I had some interest in my work and she's like, oh, Ashley, I remember you. And that like made my year. So it's, you know, it's always important to be nice and approachable. So, you know, if you guys have any additional questions after this that you think of, I'll type my contact information in the chat here. So like, please email me if you have portfolios that you want me to look at. I'm happy to look at portfolios. You know, follow me on my social media and you can, you know, ask me questions in the comments. I really think it's important to, you know, kind of pass along information and to stay connected as best you can.
So you've been drawing for like your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any characters that you've created that have just kind of stuck with you and are your favorites?
Yes. I would say Victoria Franken in Frankenslime is my #1 girl right now. And I was actually signed to do a sequel, which is really exciting, called Valenslime. And you can, you know, take that and run with it. I'm super excited about it. I love Valentine's Day. So yeah, she like that character that I used for that story, I had actually been drawing her for about a year before I used her in that sample that I tweeted. So it's interesting, you know, when you guys sketch around, you'll kind of have this character that just kind of like sticks in your mind a little bit and you keep drawing them and keep drawing them. And you have to be, it's hard to be aware of these things, but you have to remember that like this character is coming up for a reason. Like there's something there, like somebody's telling you something, like you need to, maybe there's a story there, maybe that should be like the sample that you focus on. But there's a reason that this is continuing to pop up. You know, your intuition is telling you that there's something here with this character. So just be mindful of that as you go. There's this bear that I was drawing for, again, like about a year, and that ended up being the main character in the book that I sold to Penguin Random House, was that bear. So listen to yourself, like your art knows what it's doing, just let it come out. But yeah, that was a really good question. And it's also like an obsessive type thing too. Like, I don't know if it's good or not, but like it works for me. So like, don't just draw like one thing forever. Like you have to, you know, branch out a little bit, but again, don't ignore those creative trends. And I'll put the rest of my, again, I'm on like Instagram and like I said, Instagram and Twitter are by far my favorites, but I did type my email address in there. So I'll put my social media handles and stuff on here. Let me make sure I spelled that right. Yeah. So yeah, definitely follow me. And like I said, if you all have any questions or if you need any advice or if you need to vent, I'm a great person to vent to. I have like a core group of critique partners and we can just vent all day long. And that is also very good for your creativity because if it doesn't come out to people, it's going to come out in your artwork. And trust me, it's better if it comes out to people. And never rant online. Definitely never slam like, oh, this art director sucks. They never got back to me. They are terrible. No, don't do that. Tell that to me or to your critique group. You'll be better for it. Do you guys have like I'd love to hear like the type of art that you guys do. Do you have like a critique group or are you all in illustration or are you like painting focused? Are you design focused or what?
I'm a visual artist. I'm in digital media design here.
Okay.
And so illustration like isn't, I don't know, probably the top thing. It's like a consideration. So this has been like super cool. But most of the critiques are just like take place in our classes. Like I've just had one in my drawing class and my digital art class. But I don't know. I think like putting something together in the LLP would be like so cool to like have a little art critique or like art showcase.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it has helped me. Like I have three writing critique groups and 2 illustration critique groups, and it's amazing how much I have grown personally. And it's important to be in groups where you're not necessarily like, I mean, it can be with your friends, but if you become friends through a critique group, it's different because you want people who are going to be objective. You don't want somebody who's just going to like it because you made it because you're cool. You know want to be with people who want you to be better, and the people that will give you advice to help you achieve that. So yeah, like classmates, it would be really fun, you know, if a group of you are interested, to get together and, you know, do a critique group. If you end up doing that, I'm happy to stop by sometime and like look and see what you guys are doing. I love critique groups. It's one of my favorite things to do. I would do that all day. I just had a critique last night with a group of people, and we set a timer sometimes if there's several of us, like 20 minutes per person, and then they share what they're working on, and you get feedback, and then you go to the next person. And it all happens over Zoom now. We used to meet at Starbucks and get coffee while we did it, and that made us feel like super artsy, but we can't do that anymore. So, but it's extremely helpful. And like I said, if you guys do start one, I will happily come whenever I can, because it would be really fun to see the kind of stuff that you guys are doing.
I love that idea. I will get in contact with you about that.
Yes, please, please do. I love it. And you don't have to bring like, it doesn't have to be a picture book or anything, you know, it can just be like, say that you're creating like a sample piece and you're not sure if the background distracts from the foreground or whatever. You know, bring it, have a discussion outside of a school setting. Like, not that school is bad, because it's really good, but there's something to be said for doing things on your own time that are for your personal work, that's not for a class assignment. Of course, if you're having problems with a class assignment, it's a great place to get some feedback before you turn it in. But you know, it really could help to kind of foster your work and make you excited to create something for just yourself. Yeah. Okay. And that is my Twitter handle. So yeah, I put my email address, my Instagram, and my Twitter all on there. So do you guys have any more questions or anything? Okay. Well, like I said, if you do start that, I will be super interested to come and talk, and I'll bring stuff too, because you can never get enough feedback. And I love getting like new perspectives. I joined a new critique group not too long ago, and they said things that my other critique group has never said about my work. And it's awesome because everybody has a unique perspective, and it's nice to, you know, to work with people who aren't as familiar with your work as other people are. So it's always nice to get a fresh perspective. And you know, if any of you have interest in you know, trying to get a literary agent in the future, I'm happy to answer questions about that, about the publishing industry in general. I'm an open book. Anything you guys want.